If you're great at solving riddles, you'll find the way out of any tricky situation life throws your way. So let's practice right now and get you ready for anything. Two people are trapped inside an elevator after a power outage. The emergency alarm has been activated and help is on the way. Both seem scared, but if you look closely, you can see that only one of them is really in danger. Who is it? The first person seems panicked but is conscious, breathing, and reacting to the environment. The second person is motionless with his eyes closed and may just seem calm, but this is dangerous. He is unconscious, so the second person is in greater danger. Three people are waiting for a bus on a deserted road in the early hours of the morning. The approaching bus driver receives a strange message. One of them is not what he seems. He looks closely and notices something odd. The woman is looking at her phone and yawning. The teenager is fidgeting, also very human. But the man is completely still. He doesn't blink, move, or react to the noise of the bus. He must not be human. Three workers from one company present their IDs to enter a restricted area. Only one of them is not a member of the team. Can you tell who doesn't belong here? The man in boots and the woman seem properly dressed, but the man in sneakers draws attention, as the area requires safety footwear and he doesn't have it. He must be an imposter trying to sneak in and steal some secrets. Four passengers are sitting in a train carriage. Someone stole a purse at the last stop. The thief is still there. Can you identify them? The man is somewhere deep in his thoughts, but this young woman who is sleeping with her coat over her lap looks really suspicious. She must be hiding something under the coat. During a presentation in a school auditorium, the sound team notices a mysterious interference. Three people are holding electronic devices. Only one of them is causing the interference. Who is it? This student's tablet is turned on but not necessarily connected to anything. The woman's cell phone is in airplane mode, so it's safe. The technician's clipboard has a blank screen, but he holds it firmly and looks at it constantly. He is probably disguising an active signal. The technician is responsible for the interference. Someone stole expensive cutlery from a fancy restaurant. The police are interrogating several suspects. A group of friends said they were celebrating a birthday. They wouldn't spoil their party this way. A girl who was dining alone said she just stumbled upon a restaurant and dropped by to take photos for her social media. A man in the corner said that his wife had left him and he had come to the restaurant to take his mind off his problems. Can you tell who's lying here? The girl said she just found the restaurant, but she's wearing a polo shirt with its logo. She clearly has something to hide. A car crashed into a shop window and smashed it. A detective came to investigate the case and found two suspects. Each of them claims that the other person did it. Can you help the detective figure out who's lying? The girl who came here in a massive SUV. The tire tracks on the ground belong to her car. It's the holiday season and the airport is full of people. All services are working extra hard and sadly, they accidentally removed the tag from one of the suitcases. Each of the three girls claimed it was theirs. Can you match the suitcase with its owner? Although all the girls clearly love the color pink, only one of them has badges that match the stickers on the suitcase. She must be a real fan of strawberries and the owner of the suitcase. A man got stranded on an island. He couldn't swim and was afraid of the water, so he didn't even try to swim away. But somehow, he managed to escape from the island and get home safely. How did he do it? No one said the man got stranded on a deserted island. He just found some people and asked them to take him home by boat. Students get back together after a long winter break and talk about where they went. Most people spent time with their families, but Lucy had a really exotic vacation in South Africa. She said it was amazing, but it was always snowing, so she couldn't enjoy it to the fullest. Other students don't believe her story. Why? South Africa is in the southern hemisphere, so the seasons are reversed there. Since it happened in the middle of the winter, it was summer in South Africa, and it wasn't snowing every day for sure. A man is in court and the judge tells him, "You may make a statement. If it is true, I'll sentence you to 1 year in prison. If it's false, I'll sentence you to 3 years in prison." After the man made his statement, the judge decided to set him free. How is it possible? He said, "You'll sentence me to 3 years in prison." If it was true, then the judge would have to make it false by sentencing him to 1 year. If it was false, then he would have to give him 3 years, which would make it true. So the judge decided to set the man free. Two ladies are driving through the city. Their cars look very similar, but the big difference is that one of the ladies actually stole the vehicle. Use all the clues you have and try to figure out which of them did it. Although she looks completely harmless, this lady is driving a stolen car. There are some scratches near the door handle, so either she stole it or someone did it for her. The mom of a teenager lets him invite his girlfriend over to their house. The mom is leaving, and her only condition is that the girlfriend doesn't enter her closet and doesn't try anything on. An hour later, the furious mom comes back and says she knows the girl broke the promise. How did she find out? She was scrolling through social media and found a new photo of the girl inside her closet with her clothes on. Sandra decided to invite a professional cook to make her birthday party unforgettable. She paid him a huge amount of money as he claimed to be the best of the best. But once he started cooking, Sandra soon guessed he was lying about his qualifications. What gave him away? Look at his laptop. The man was just Googling how long you boil eggs for. A professional cook clearly has to know that. One day, a boss told his employees, "I can win at arm wrestling over any man who works here." A new employee, a guy with a super firm handshake, decided to challenge the boss. The boss won the bet, even though he didn't defeat the man. What did he do to win? He didn't want to lose, so he just fired the new employee on the spot, so he didn't work in the company anymore. Julia is in the modeling business, and the competition is pretty rough. She goes inside a tanning studio, but instead of a light shimmer, she comes out of it looking like an orange. So one of these two girls must have replaced the tanning solution with some orange paint. Can you tell who did it? It was the blonde girl. Her hands and her clothes still have remnants of orange paint on them. 3 guys, Jim, Bob, and Sean, are friends with girls Ashley, Tina, and Sally. Soon, the company splits into pairs, but it turns out that Tina doesn't like playing tennis. Jim is Ashley's brother, and he often goes to the tennis court with his girlfriend. Bob asks Jim's sister out on a date. Who does Sean spend time with? Sean spends time with Tina.
A tourist got lost and found 3 houses. In the first one, the light is on, but the windows are boarded up from the inside. In the second one, the doors are wide open and a radio is playing inside. In the third house, everything is covered in dust, but there's a warm cup of tea on the table. Which house is the safest to enter? It's the third one. The tea is still warm, which means the owner has just stepped out. Mr. Johnson keeps his socks in a dresser drawer. He always buys them in only 3 colors – brown, blue, and green – and stores them all together. Mr. Johnson has an important meeting. He pulls the socks out of the drawer one by one without looking. What is the minimum number of socks he must take out to be sure he has a matching pair of the same color? Four socks are enough because the first 3 might be all different colors. 3 people are sitting at a table: a doctor, the son of the doctor's father, and the father of the doctor's son. How are these people related? Well, we have the doctor, her brother, and her husband here. The doctor is a woman. The son of the doctor's father is her brother, and the father of the doctor's son is her husband. An archaeologist went down into an underground passage with 3 corridors. He can smell food from the first corridor, but the cobweb at the entrance was untouched. There's light coming from the second corridor, but there were many old torches with no traces of soot. The third passage was completely dark, but the floor was covered in fresh, muddy footprints. Which corridor did he choose to find people? The third one. The footprints are the most reliable sign. Jamie was offered a pay of $20 for every working day and a deduction of $30 for each non-working day. After 60 days, he got nothing. How many days did he work? If Jamie had worked every day, he would have made $1,200. For each non-working day, he lost $50. Since after 60 days, the worker earned nothing, he lost $1,200. Divided by 50, and we get 24 non-working days. So the number of working days was 36. A famous detective stared at a strange note. It was partly written in Asian characters, partly in numbers, and partly in the English alphabet. Can you read it? It's simple. When you remove all the foreign symbols and numbers, you get "I love Brightside." Aww. 3 friends boast to each other. One says that she has a loving husband and kids. Another claims she has a brilliant career, a rich husband, and children. The third one says she has all the same, but one of them is lying. In reality, she is a single mother. Who is it? It's the first girl. Her tattoo has 2 matching symbols, a big and a small butterfly, a subtle hint at mother and child. Lizzie decided to start a culinary vlog to make some extra cash. She filmed the first video about cooking with homemade pasta. She posted it and got a bunch of angry comments saying that she is a liar. Why did her viewers decide so? There are 3 empty instant noodle containers sitting on the counter. Obviously, that pasta wasn't homemade. Sam and Sarah are competing for the scholarship of their dreams from the Astronomy Society. The final presentation will decide who wins. After looking at the presentations of both contestants, the jury chose Sarah and told Sam to get more serious if he wants to achieve something. Why did they say so? Well, in his presentation, Saturn is where the Sun should be, and Mars switched places with our Earth. Airport security receives an anonymous phone call. An infamous criminal is about to try to leave the country with the diamonds and emeralds she stole. The security easily identified the criminal after scanning her luggage. What's suspicious here? This shoe is clearly larger than all the others, and it doesn't have a pair, so she's probably hiding something inside it. Jackson was going home from a night shift and decided to have breakfast at a roadside diner. There was just one more visitor inside and a waitress who seemed a bit weird. Jackson ordered a full breakfast for $20, but when it was time to pay, the waitress brought him a bill that said $505. He paid, went outside, and called the police to report an emergency. Why did he do it? The waitress typed that number because it looks like SOS. Something is really wrong there. A farmer once challenged an engineer, a physicist, and a mathematician to fence off the largest amount of area using the least amount of fence. The engineer shaped his fence like a large circle. The physicist made a long line and said that fencing off half the Earth was the best. The mathematician laughed at them and showed his design, which beat the others. What did he do? The mathematician made a small circular fence around himself and declared himself to be on the outside. Ooh, smart. Nancy stayed late at work and got locked up in the office. To get out, she must guess the 3-digit code to the door. There's a calendar next to it, and it has the letters WMF at the bottom. Can you help her figure out the code? It's 3:15. The letters stand for the days of the week, Wednesday, Monday, and Friday, and the code is their numbers. Now Steve is going on a blind date with a friend of a friend. All he knows is that she'll be wearing a polka dot skirt. When he arrives at the restaurant, he sees 3 girls in polka dot skirts. So, who is the one? There are 3 empty plates and 2 glasses on the first table, so the girl isn't alone. The second girl has almost finished her coffee and is working on her laptop, so it must be the third girl, patiently waiting for Steve. A frog falls to the bottom of a 30-foot well. Each morning, the frog climbs 3 feet up, but each night it slips 2 feet down during sleep. So at the beginning of the first day, the frog has 30 feet to go. At the beginning of the second day, it has 29 feet to go, and so on. How many days does the frog need to escape from the well? At the beginning of the 28th day, the frog will climb the last 3 feet and escape. Reddit. All right, your brain must be boiling by now. Let's give it a little break. Try to find the hidden animals in these pictures. Here's the first one. Did you notice this bird right here? Now on to the second picture. Yep, it's a butterfly right here. Now, the trickiest of them all. There's a chameleon hiding in this forest. Can you spot it? Well done!
Jenny and Ben were about to get married. They wanted to book a hotel for their wedding ceremony in the party. So they went to a wedding planner to look at some options. She told them only 3 hotels were available for the day they wanted and showed them the pictures. Which one should they choose? Take a closer look at the 3rd floor windows of the first hotel. In the last window on the right, there's a creepy shadow of a monster that appears and disappears. 5 stars or not, no one would like to get married in a haunted place unless they're an Addams Family member. In the 3rd hotel, only has 2 stars. It probably doesn't have the facilities to host a wedding, so the best choice is the 2nd hotel. Great choice, the wedding planner said, and you're in luck because they actually have a great discount offer. If you can answer this riddle correctly, you won't have to pay for the ballroom rental. Here it is. Those who have it, do not say it. Those who take it, do not know it. Those who know it, do not want it. What is it? Do you know the answer? It's fake money. The next day, Ben and Jenny went to the hotel to pick the best ballroom for their party. The hotel manager took them to 3 different rooms where they could host everything, from the ceremony itself to the dinner and after party. Which one should they pick? Do you see a little mouse hole in the corner of the first ballroom? The couple wouldn't want such uninvited guests at their party. As for the 2nd ballroom, the chandelier looks like it might fall down any minute. Not the safest option, so they should pick the 3rd ballroom. It was time for Ben and Jenny to pick the wedding menu. Since they were not paying for the venue, they wanted to spare no expense in serving food that the guests would never forget. That's why they called 3 different Michelin star chefs. Each of them prepared a different dish and presented them for a tasting. Which chef, and therefore which dish, should they go for? Even though the dish the 2nd chef made looks perfectly fine, do you see a rat's tail hanging from his chef's hat? There must be some ratatouille situation going on there. So that's a pass. The 3rd dish looks like spaghetti, right? Well, look again. Those are actually very thin snakes. Exotic flavors might not be the best option, so they better go with the classical burger that the first chef made. Before they made their wedding vows, Jenny had to say yes to a dress. So, she went to a couture store to check their wedding gown collection. She explained to the designer the style of the dress she wanted for her ceremony. The designer said he had just the perfect gown for her and would bring it to her if she answered his riddle correctly. He asked, if a gown takes an hour to dry, how many hours will it take 6 dresses to dry? It'll still take 1 hour because they'll all dry at the same time. Ben had one last item to buy on his wedding shopping list, and it was what fastens 2 people yet touches only 1. Can you figure out what it is? It's a wedding ring, of course. Ben headed to a jewelry store to get something blue for his bride. The store owner showed him 3 different wedding rings with blue gemstones. Which one should he buy? The 2nd ring has an engraving inside, so it must have belonged to someone else before. The gemstone on the 3rd ring has a tiny crack in it. That can only mean it's made of glass or even plastic. So, Ben should buy the 1st ring with a sapphire. Next, Ben and Jenny were going to send out invitations. One print shop offered them 3 different versions of invitations. Which one should they choose? Do you remember the name of the hotel they booked? It was Sunrise Lodge, but the first invitation says Sunset Lodge. So this one won't do. And on the third invitation, their names are printed as Benny and Jen. That's not our couple, so they should choose the second invitation. Before the wedding, 3 of their friends paid them a visit. One of them brought a painting as a wedding gift, but all 3 claimed that they were the artist who had created it. 2 of them must be lying. Can you figure out who the actual artist is? Take a look at the signature on the painting. It says Denise. Now look at the third friend's necklace. It has the letter D, so she must be Denise, the artist who painted the painting. It was finally the day of the wedding, and Ben and Jenny's guests started to arrive. However, the hotel security spotted 3 suspicious-looking people who could be uninvited. Take a look at these 3 guys. Can you tell which one is not supposed to be at the wedding? Do you see the hotel wristbands that say Ben and Jenny, that the second and the third guys are wearing? That can only mean they are actually invited. So it's the first guy who's crushing the wedding. Sorry, dude, no free drinks for you. After the vows were exchanged, it was time to party. As Ben and Jenny were dancing, someone spilled their drink on Jenny's dress, but no one saw who it was. Jenny spotted 3 people who could have done it. Take a look at them. Can you tell who ruined her dress? The first guy has spots on his shirt that resemble stains from the spilled drink, but they are actually part of the pattern, so it can't be him. The third lady looks clean, but the hem of the second lady's skirt looks dirty, so it must be her who did it. After the ceremony ended, Ben and Jenny wanted to take a photo to capture the moment forever. But take a look at it. There's something strange about it. Can you spot what it is? Can you see a woman hiding behind the trees watching them? She is wearing a witch hat, but it's a wedding ceremony and not a costume party. Creepy. Right before leaving, Jenny suddenly vanished. Then the witch suddenly appeared in front of Ben and said, "You may only kiss the bride if you figure out with whom you really tied the knot. Ha ha!" Then 2 Jennys appeared in front of Ben. Can you tell which one is his real wife? Remember the wedding photo? The Jenny on the left is the real one because her tattoo is on the same side as in the photo. Now that Ben and Jenny's wedding was over, phew, it was time for them to pick a honeymoon destination. They went to a travel agency to book a tour. The travel agent offered them 3 different holiday destinations: Ibiza, Cannes, and the Caribbean. Which one should they go to? Have you noticed the weather forecast on TV in the office? It states that the weather in Ibiza is going to be windy in the upcoming days, and in Cannes, it's going to be rainy. So they should pick the Caribbean and enjoy the sun. The travel agent said she could upgrade their plane tickets to business class for free. It would be her wedding gift to them. But they had to crack this riddle. What can travel around the world while staying in a corner? It's a stamp.
Like every morning, Daphne went to her favorite local cafe to get her coffee and breakfast sandwich. She left the cafe after she'd paid. A few minutes later, she returned, looking anxious because she had forgotten her wallet. Strangely, it was nowhere to be found. She called the police to report the incident. Nobody had left the store, so the thief was still there when the officer arrived. He started questioning everyone. Jenny, the cashier, said that Daphne was a regular customer and she had known her for a long time. So, she would never steal her wallet and she didn't see it after Daphne had paid. Andre was a tourist visiting the city for the first time. He said he'd come to the cafe because he'd wanted to try their famous muffins. She claimed he hadn't seen the wallet. He was busy trying to pick what type of muffin he should get at the time. And Harry worked as a store clerk. He said that he'd come there to grab a coffee. And he didn't see the wallet because he was pouring milk into his coffee. So who do you think stole the wallet? It was Harry, the store clerk, or should I say Harold. Do you see his name tag? He lied about his name when he ordered his drink. Also, even though he said he was pouring milk in his coffee, as you can see, it doesn't have any milk in it. Jessica was an aspiring actor, and she had a big musical theater audition that day. She left her house early in the morning to make it on time, but she had forgotten to take her sheet music with her, so she had to drive back. When she walked in, though, she saw her roommate lying on the floor unconscious. A nurse was standing beside her. She explained to Jessica that her roommate had been poisoned, but luckily, she'd had enough time to call an ambulance before she passed out. Jessica immediately realized something was wrong. She thanked the nurse for helping her friend and asked her if she could get her a glass of water or anything else. The nurse agreed, and Jessica hurried to the kitchen. There, she called the police saying, "There's a fake nurse in my house. She poisoned my roommate and tried to rob her." How did Jessica understand that? When she arrived at the house, there was no ambulance car in the driveway or in the street. And it's not like paramedics started using Uber. And you might have also noticed that the paramedic bag the nurse was holding was slightly open, and Jessica's roommate's jewelry was dangling out of it. Anna and Catherine are both influencers, but take a look at the latest photos they posted. Which of these ladies do you think is richer? Catherine is richer, of course. Just look at the number of likes on her photo. She has 27,907 likes. Anna, on the other hand, has 9,837, which means that Catherine has way more followers and must be earning millions. Annie managed to buy presents for everyone except her dad. She knew what everyone wanted, but her dad was kind of secretive and not the talking type. He was also not great with technology and never bought anything online, so there was no way she could sneak into her dad's computer and check the saved items in his shopping cart. But he always liked to make lists in his little notebook, and Annie was sure she might be able to find a wish list there. So she sneaked into her father's office one day to look for the notebook. It was nowhere to be found, but his study table had a locked drawer. She looked for the key around the room but couldn't find it anywhere. That's when 2 different sticky notes attached to 2 different books inside the bookcase caught her eye. The first note was attached to a psychology book and had P5487TH written on it. The second note was attached to a detective novel and said P21320TH. Annie immediately knew what the notes meant. Can you guess what she had to do? She had to open to page 548 in the first book and find the 7th word on this page. Then, she had to open page 213 in the second book and find the 20th word on that page. The words she found were under and desk. The girl immediately looked under the desk and found the drawer key taped to it. James was walking back to his apartment from work late at night. Suddenly, he was hit on the head and taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a small room. He tried to escape, but the door was locked with a padlock. James tried to look for the key, but there was nothing in there but a window with strange-looking metal bars. Suddenly, he noticed something. It helped him to find the key. Do you see it too? One of the metal bars is different from the others. That one is the key. Giselle was camping in the forest during a night when the moon was full. After midnight, when she was making s'mores by a fire, she heard a loud howl. There was a werewolf in the forest, and it managed to find Giselle's tent, because it smelled of food there. Thankfully, Giselle was not in her tent anymore when the werewolf arrived because she had already run away. Hiding behind a tree, she watched the creature eat her s'mores and tear up the tent. When the werewolf left before sunrise, the girl returned to her tent, but everything was ruined. There was no more food or water left. Her cell phone had run out of battery, so she couldn't call anyone. She started wandering through the forest, and soon she came upon a witch's house. When she walked in, she saw the witch and another lady. Giselle asked the witch if she could send her home. The witch agreed to help her on one condition. She would only send Giselle home if she guessed her sister's name. If not, she would turn her into a frog. Giselle knew the answer, but how? Did you notice that the witch's sister is wearing the same necklace around her neck as the werewolf? Well, Giselle did, and there's a name written on the necklace: Abigail. Zoe went to a security guard and reported that her gym bag was missing. She said she'd gone to the ladies' restroom after her dance cardio class. She was fixing her hair when someone came up from behind and pushed her. So she didn't see the person who had taken her bag. The security guard refused to check the footage from the security camera that was outside the restroom. Neither did he file a report. Why? Zoe said she was fixing her hair, so she must have been looking in the mirror. If she was telling the truth about someone sneaking up from behind, she would have definitely seen their reflection. So, Zoe probably lied so that she could sue them. Luckily, the security guard was super smart. Several women went missing in a small town. James Darcy and his police team had been searching for months, but they couldn't find the place where the women were kept. One day, when Sandra was jogging, she decided to use another route to get home. As she was passing an old cabin, she heard screams coming from its basement. She immediately called James Darcy to report it. James and his team arrived at the place and busted in. They found there 3 women. They all said that they had been locked in the basement for months, but James knew one of them was lying. The first woman said that her name was Tammy and that she had spent almost 8 months in the basement. The second woman claimed that her name was Hannah and that she had been there for almost 5 months. The third woman told him that her name was Allison and that she had stayed there for about 3 months. Can you tell who the liar is? Allison is telling the truth. Look at her. Her clothes are dirty. Her hair is greasy. Her roots have started to grow out. She definitely hasn't seen daylight for a long time. The same goes for Hannah. But look at Tammy. She looks clean. Her clothes look new. Her hair and makeup look fresh, so it must be her who is lying. David spent his summer break at a science camp that was at a big space facility. When the summer break ended and school started, he told his friends from the science club all about his camp adventures. He said that at the facility, he had found a secret room. And in there was a time machine. He stepped into it and pressed some buttons to test if it really worked, and it did. He traveled through time and was able to talk to Nikola Tesla, Chuck Berry, and King Aragorn. But one of his friends immediately called him out for lying. How did he know that David made up this whole thing? Well, even if David actually managed to travel through time, he might have been able to talk to Nikola Tesla and Chuck Berry, but definitely not King Aragorn, because he is a fictional character.
Mary runs a beauty salon.
Hello.
She arrives at work in the morning and sees one odd thing. Can you spot what's wrong with this place? The mirror images of these 2 clients are swapped. Mary says hi to all employees, but there's one imposter among them. Can you tell who? This guy over here. Cutting hair doesn't require kitchen ladles. One of the clients is unhappy about her haircut. She approaches Mary and demands her money back. Mary asks two of her best hairdressers, "Ladies, who did this haircut?" Nina says, "It was Sarah," and Sarah blames Nina. Can you guess who actually did the haircut? It was Sarah. The client's little purple hairs are still on her black dress. Mary is taller than Sarah, and Nina is shorter than Mary. We know that only one of the following statements is correct. 1. Sarah is taller than Nina. 2. Nina is taller than Sarah. 3. It cannot be determined if Nina or Sarah is the tallest. Can you guess which one? Statement 3 is correct. The only thing that we know for sure is that Mary is the tallest. If Nina and Sarah have different heights, one of the other statements is also correct. But if Nina and Sarah have the same height, none of the other two statements are correct. Mary walks around the beauty salon to check if everything's fine. Can you find any odd details in this picture? There's a snake hiding in this woman's dreadlocks. After work, Mary is visiting her boyfriend, Steve, at the police station.
Hello.
Steve is a detective. He just finished interrogating these 3 criminals. One of these guys is planning to escape tonight. Can you guess who? There's a nail file in this guy's cake, so he's the one who's planning to escape. Mary and Steve are having a romantic walk in the park late at night. Can you see anything weird here? There are 2 moons in the sky.
Oh my god!
Suddenly, a thief pops out of nowhere, grabs Mary's bag, and runs away.
Oh, no.
Steve follows him, but the thief runs into a nightclub and blends in with the crowd. The thief was wearing a mask, so Steve couldn't see his face. Can you help him catch the criminal? The thief was wearing a gold watch on his right hand, just like this guy. The next day, Mary is holding a workshop for hairdressers. There are 10 students in one classroom. Each person can see the entire room and everyone else. Mary wants to place a wig so that all but one person can see it. Where would you place the wig in the room? She should put the wig on anyone's head. Mary looks out the window and sees a football team in front of the beauty salon. Each guy is holding a sign with some inscription. Can you guess who the message is for? One of the football players is asking Emily out on a date.
Aww.
At the end of her working shift, Mary goes to the basement to check the drinking water supply. Suddenly, the door slams, and she has to find an alternative way out. Mary walks through a creepy basement and finds 3 doors. A tunnel behind the first door is on fire. Behind the second door, there are UV lamps. And behind the third door, there are angry tigers waiting to jump on Mary. Which door should she choose? The first one. She can use a couple of the drinking water bottles and put out the fire. There are 3 ladies waiting in line for a manicure, but one of them cannot get her nails done. Can you tell who? This lady. Take a look at the reflection. It's just a cardboard cutout. The working day is over at 8 p.m. All the employees go home and Mary remains alone. She puts all the cash in the safe locker and goes home too. In the morning, she returns and finds out that all the cash is gone. She calls the police, and they question 3 suspects. Nina, the hairdresser, says, "I finished with my last client at 6 p.m. and left right away." Emma, the cleaning lady, says, "I cleaned all of the studio after Mary left. Then I locked the door and went home." I didn't notice anything suspicious. Sarah says, I was waiting for my last client until 7:30, but he didn't show up. So I rescheduled the appointment for today and went home. Who's lying? Emma. Mary was the last person to leave the workplace yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Mary goes on a date to a restaurant. Her boyfriend brings her flowers and chocolates. In the morning, she wakes up with a severe allergy. She goes to the hospital. Doctors find out that she was poisoned, but they don't know what kind of antidote she needs. Mary needs to identify the source quickly, so she hires a detective. He questions everyone who could give the allergen to Mary. Steve, the boyfriend, says, we had the same food and drinks in the evening. I don't understand how it could happen. Pizza guy says, I brought her pizza yesterday, but it was all right for sure. No one else complained about anything. And Bella, Mary's bestie, says, I think it's her boyfriend's fault. He called me and asked what kind of flowers Mary liked. Who caused Mary's allergy? Bella. She advised Steve to give Mary allergenic flowers. Mary gets well and goes back to work. She arrives at her beauty salon and sees these 3 clients. Only one of them is a natural blonde. Can you guess who? The first lady has black armpit hair, and the third lady has dark roots and eyebrows. Therefore, they are not natural blondes. And this elegant lady with green hair has light eyebrows and eyelashes, which means she's the only natural blonde among these 3 people. Suddenly, all the lights in the beauty salon turn off. Thankfully, in a few seconds, the light is back again. But Emily yells, someone stole my chocolate bar! Mary interrogates 3 suspects. Emily's client says, that wasn't me, I just got nail polish applied. And I'm still waiting for it to dry. Nina says, I'm afraid of the dark, so when the lights went out, I just froze. And Angela says, someone pushed me in the dark and I fell on the floor. Who took the chocolate bar? Angela. She has crumbs on her cheek. Steve wants to give Mary a legendary gift for her birthday, but he has absolutely no idea what to get her. He decides to sneak into her laptop and check out her shopping cart. Mary goes to the bathroom and Steve sneaks into her room and turns on the laptop. It requires a password, but Steve doesn't know it. Luckily, there's a note next to Mary's laptop saying 6226. Sam tries it, but it doesn't work. Can you crack the password? Steve should try 222-222-66. Mary puts her stuff in the storage room and leaves for a while. When she returns, she notices that someone has stolen her bag. The manager calls the police and locks the doors. A policeman comes over and identifies 3 suspects. The hairdresser had a live stream with her Instagram followers. The manicurist says that she was focused on her work. And the cleaner says that he was washing the floor and he didn't notice anyone suspicious. Have you guessed who the thief is? The hairdresser. Take a look at her earrings. She left one of them at the crime scene. Mary gives her student Nancy a tricky task. She gives her 3 boxes. Each of the boxes contains hair extensions of a certain color and 2 statements. In one of the boxes, 2 statements are false. In the other boxes, both statements are true. Let's open up the first box. The 2 notes say, 1. Don't use this color. 2. Don't take the color from the second box. The 2 notes from the second box say, 1. Don't use the color from the first box. 2. And take the color from the third box. And finally, the notes in the third box say, 1. Don't use this color. 2. Take the color from the first box. Which color should Nancy choose to pass the test? Nancy should choose the color from the third box.
Several birds landed on trees, one bird for one tree. But in this case, one of them didn't have a tree of its own. Then they regrouped, with 2 birds sitting on one tree. After this, one tree was left. How many birds and trees are there? There are 4 birds and 3 trees. Look at these 4 people in a grocery store. Can you figure out who's going to steal a watermelon? It's the man with a soccer ball. It seems as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. You wake up and find yourself in a locked room without windows and only one door. You look around and notice a table. There's a piece of paper, a knife, and several inflated balloons lying on it. You pick up the note. It reads, "To get out of here, you must puncture a balloon with a knife. But if the balloon bursts, you'll stay here forever." What should you do to make a hidden door open in one of the walls? You should deflate one of the balloons. After that, you can easily puncture it with a knife. You're walking along the beach and spot an expensive-looking watch in the sand. There are only 3 other people on the beach. Who does the watch belong to? This guy's watch is in his pocket. The tan line on this girl's wrist doesn't match the shape of the watch. The watch must belong to this elderly lady. You've got a sack filled with coffee beans. You need to use this coffee to completely fill 2 other sacks of the same size. How do you do it? Put one empty sack into the other and fill them with coffee. 3 young men came to a coffee shop to prepare for their final exam. A waiter came up to them and asked, "Does everyone want coffee?" The first guy said, "I don't know." The second man answered, "Nah, I don't know." And the third one answered, "Yes." Can you figure out what the first 2 guys ordered? All young men ordered coffee. Each of them wanted to have this drink, but the first 2 couldn't know if it would be everyone's choice. If the first 2 guys hadn't wanted coffee, they'd have simply said no. So when the third guy heard his friend's replies, he figured out that both of them wanted coffee. And since he was going to get a cup, he said yes. You have to think outside the box to crack this one. 1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters. The word 3 has 5. And the word 5 has 4 letters. But the word 4 has 4 letters in it. And whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4, and the game will end there. Vincent got locked in a room with no windows and only one massive door. There's a panel with several buttons on the left and another one with a hint on it on the right. There's also a clock on the wall above the door. Which button should Vincent press to get out of the trap? The green triangle. The numbers on the panel represent hours. If you connect them on the clock face, you'll get a triangle. Add this number to the same one and multiply the result by 4. Then divide it by 8 and you'll have the very first number again. What number is it? It can be any number. You can try it out to make sure. Look at these women attentively. Which one seems to be suspicious? It's the one on the right. The woman on the left was just adding some ketchup to her dish. See that bottle? But look at the pie the woman on the right is holding. There's a smartphone peeking out of the pie. What's it doing there? It's very suspicious. The police knocked on Michael's door late in the evening. They had a search warrant. They accused the man of stealing a big sum of money from a supermarket. Mike claimed that he hadn't left the house all day, but one of the detectives saw something in his living room, and it led to the man's arrest. What was it? Look at the date on the receipt lying on the table. It's the same as the date on the calendar, which means Michael lied about not leaving his house that day. Look at these guys attentively. Can you tell which one has drawn the graffiti? It's the guy on the left. He has some spray paint on his hoodie. An ant is 2 inches away from its home. With every next step, it covers half the distance to the entrance. How many steps will the insect have to take to reach its destination? The ant will never reach the door because every time it'll travel only half the distance. Now, how about solving some rebus riddles? This is the first one for you. High, 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 high. That's high five. The next one, noon good. What's this? That's how you greet people. Good afternoon. Okay, now try this one. Way, progress. It's progress underway. Now let's check how attentive you are. Try to figure out what's wrong in the following images. There's no way anyone can wear those blue shoes. They're both left ones. How about this one? This horse looks rather natural among kangaroos, but it doesn't belong there. What's wrong in this picture? Why would a barn have a chimney? I suspect something is missing in this picture. Can you figure out what exactly? The bus doesn't have side mirrors and windshield wipers. Detective Lucas was called to investigate an accident. A car crashed into a store window and smashed the glass. There are 2 suspects. Both of them deny their involvement. Detective Lucas doesn't need much time to figure out who the culprit is. Do you know the answer too? It's the owner of the blue car. The pattern on its tires is the same as in front of the store. Detective Brown was having her morning coffee in a cafe when she heard a car screeching to a halt, then some loud shouting. She ran outside and spotted a man on the ground. His bicycle was lying nearby. There was also a car sitting next to the man. Detective Brown helped the cyclist up. The car driver came up to them. The cyclist exclaimed, "He hit my bike with his car, making me crash." But the driver answered, "I saw him losing control of his bike in the mirror. I left my car to check on him." Detective Brown immediately understood who was lying. Can you figure it out? Strangely, the car doesn't have side mirrors, and all that stuff in the back seat blocks the view of the road, so the driver couldn't have seen anything in his rearview mirror either. He's lying. a man wearing a hat, a bandana covering his face, and dark sunglasses robbed a bank. The police have 3 suspects. Look at them and try to figure out which one is the criminal. Usually, people tie bandanas under their ears. But in this case, the bandana covers the robber's ears. It probably hides something that distinguishes the man from other people. The criminal must be that man with only one ear. When Louisa entered the office, she noticed that her colleague Anna was very upset. It was the beginning of the working day, but someone had already stolen her purse. Only those who worked in the company could get into the office. Louisa questioned her colleagues. Maria, who worked in IT, said she'd been fixing somebody's computer. Jane, the secretary, answered she'd been on the phone with some clients. Andrew, a sales manager, said,
"I've just returned from a 3-hour-long meeting. I'm exhausted."
"Can you figure out who took the purse?" Andrew, the working day's just started. How could he come back from such a long meeting? There was an incident in a secret laboratory. One of the scientists released a substance that turned people into vampires. Detective Reed arrived at the scene to interview 3 witnesses. The first scientist, Michael, said,
"I stopped by the lab this morning to pick up some notes. The machines were working just fine, and I didn't see anyone. I took the papers and left."
The second scientist, Lindsay, said, "I closed the lab at night. One of the PCs was faulty, but I was very tired and decided to leave it till the morning. Unfortunately, I overslept." And the third scientist, Jennifer, said,
"I got up early and went to the lab to check the devices. No one seems to have entered the room. I fixed one of the computers and left."
Which one of them was lying? Michael is lying. One of the computers was actually faulty, and Jennifer spent the whole morning fixing it. If Michael had walked into the lab, he would have known about it, or Jennifer would have noticed him. So he must have entered the lab after the others had already left. But why would someone release such a dangerous substance? Michael didn't want to confess, so Detective Reed decided to investigate the crime scene to find out who was behind this. Take a look at this picture. Is there anything suspicious? It looks like Michael dropped an ID card. And look, it doesn't belong to him. The name on the card is George Wilson. Let's ask him about the incident. Detective Reed went to Mr. Wilson's office to ask him about the incident.
"Oh yeah, I gave my pass to Michael,"
Mr. Wilson said.
"But that's only because I had left something in the lab. My glasses. I didn't have time, so I asked Michael to pick them up."
Well, that's not a very clever excuse, but how can you prove the man is lying? There's an open glasses case on the table, and the glasses are inside. But Mr. Wilson, didn't you say that you left them in the lab?
"Oh, did I say my glasses? Sorry, I meant my papers. I made this mistake because I asked my secretary Shirley to look for my glasses yesterday."
Find something to prove Mr. Wilson is lying. There's a calendar on Shirley's desk. Yesterday was her day off. It's marked red. Mr. Wilson is lying. Mr. Wilson was arrested, but people have already begun to turn into vampires. Can you guess who's actually a vampire? The woman on the right. She's putting on her makeup, but do you see? She isn't reflected in the mirror. Meanwhile, those who haven't turned into vampires gather everything they might need to survive. Which of these people is more likely to stay alive? All these supplies won't protect the guy on the right from vampires. As for the girl on the left, she stocked up on what she can to defeat the vampires. She has a higher chance of survival. Let's check out the subway. There are 2 women here. Which of them is not pregnant? The girl on the left is not pregnant. Look, her belly is of a very strange shape. That's because she has hidden her survival supplies under her clothes. Vampires decided to throw a party. Who among those present is actually an undercover human? The guy on the left is a human. He's wearing makeup and false teeth. Nikki is also trying to survive. She packs her things and decided to move to a neighboring town. But suddenly, a vampire charged at her car. He damages the vehicle and takes away some supplies. Fortunately, he doesn't manage to bite Nikki. She escapes. Nikki has to stay home. The next day, a young man knocks on her door and asks for help. Is it okay to let him in? Nope. He has the same scar on his cheek like the vampire from the day before. Nikki continues to hide at home. One day, some girl starts knocking on her back door. Please help! A pack of vampires is chasing me! Nikki opens the door. The girl is out of breath, but she manages to say, They're almost here! Can I come in? Is it safe to let her in? No! This girl is a vampire. Anyone in this situation would immediately run inside the house, but vampires can't come in without an invitation. Nikki was checking her house and suddenly noticed that there was someone in the attic. She approached the shadows. It was a father and daughter. Please don't kick us out. Sorry, we snuck in without permission. We've been trying to hide from the vampires. The father said, Is it safe to let them stay? Yes, firstly, they're sitting in the sun, but their skin seems to be okay. Secondly, they managed to enter the house without an invitation. That means they're humans. Nikki let them stay. Let's take a little break. Time for some quick riddles. Think fast. A vampire lived in a 1-story black cottage. He had a black cat, a black fish, a black computer, a black armchair, a black desk, and a black phone. Everything was black. What color was the staircase? There was no staircase in that house because it was a 1-story cottage. 3 vampires are walking fast. The first vampire says, 2 other vampires are walking behind me. The second one says,
1 vampire is walking behind me, and 1 is walking in front of me.
And the third one says, 2 vampires are walking in front of me, and 2 are walking behind me. How is that possible? These vampires are walking in circles. Humans, vampires, and werewolves gathered in one mansion. There are as many werewolves as there are vampires. There are as many vampires as there are humans. How many creatures are there if 3 of them are werewolves? There are 9 creatures in the mansion, 3 werewolves, 3 vampires, and 3 humans. Now let's go back to Nikki and her adventures. Nikki, Peter, and his daughter Becky decided to go to another town together. It takes 2 days to get there. They drove all day until night fell. Now they have 3 options. First, they can continue driving until the morning, despite the fact that they may meet a lot of vampires along the way. Second, they can spend the night in the nearest cave with bats. And third, they can sleep in the car. Which option would be the safest for them? Sleeping in the car is a bad idea. Vampires can sneak up on them in the middle of the night. A night in a cave is also a bad option. Vampires can hide among these bats. The safest option is to keep driving. Although they'll probably meet vampires, they have a chance to survive if they drive faster. They drove really fast and managed to reach the city by the morning. But when they got out of the car, they discovered they were surrounded by vampires. To escape, they need to choose one of 3 roads. On the first road, there's a pack of vampires. They're coming straight at the guys. There are wild hogs on the second road. The third road leads through a dark alley with hundreds of bats. Which of these 3 ways is the safest? The second way is the best option because the sun illuminates it, so vampires can't follow Nikki and her new friends. Plus, these dogs don't look too unfriendly. The guys reach 3 stores. Now they need to decide which of the stores is safe to enter. Nikki, Peter, and Becky look through the windows to see what's inside. The first store is empty, but it seems to be full of traps. The second store is full of survivors, but they look dangerous. And the third store seems empty as well, but it's completely dark there, and you can't see anything except for dozens of bats. Where should Nikki lead her friends? The first store is the safest. If Nikki, Peter, and Becky notice these traps, then the chances are high they'll be able to avoid them. It's worth a try. There's a man in the city who's trying to survive by hiding among vampires. Nikki spent a week photographing vampires to figure out who he was. Will you be able to see who is actually human in these photos? You can see this man has all 4 photos. In one of the photos, he's eating garlic bread, and in this one, his leg is exposed to the sun. He's only pretending to be a vampire. Nikki and the others decided to invite this man to join their group. The man was delighted and said that his name was Douglas. He was a journalist looking for safe places for people. He suggested creating a password that only humans could figure out. They came up with this one: HAWUH. Can you guess why? If you look at the reflection of this word in the mirror, you will see Huwan, or Huwan. Flip the letter W and you get the word human. But only those who get reflected in the mirror will be able to solve this puzzle. Nikki and her friends settle down in this town. Can you guess which of these houses belongs to Nikki, in which Peter and Becky live, and in which Douglas has chosen? House number 1 belongs to Peter and Becky. There are 2 bicycles next to it. House number 2 belongs to the journalist. Do you see his equipment? And the remaining house, house number 3, belongs to Nikki.
Hey, riddle lovers! Ready to take your brain for a marathon? Well then, let's go! 2 friends meet in the street. Ben says he's heading to house number 23. Jeremy says he's going to visit his friend who lives in house number 7. Can you tell which one is Ben and which one is Jeremy? Ben is the one wearing the cap. Look closely at the house number. It's 19. If you walk from the beginning of the street, odd number houses are on the left side. The guy in the cap is walking in the direction of large numbers, so he must be Ben. In the evening, a woman said, "My cat has disappeared. The window was closed, the door was locked, no signs, no sounds. Where did the cat go if the house was completely closed?" The cat never really left. It crawled into a slightly open drawer of the dresser and fell asleep there. The woman didn't check it, but no one can trick you. A tiny tip of the cat's tail is sticking out. And while we're on the topic of pets, here's a fashion dilemma. If dogs wore pants, would they wear them like this or like this? The more accurate version would be the one on the right, on the hind legs, just like humans. That's because pants are clothing for the lower part of the body, and in dogs, that means the hind legs. The front legs are more like arms than legs. You're in your cabin. You travel exactly 100 miles south. Then you see a bear. You travel exactly 100 miles east, and the bear runs away. You travel exactly 100 miles north, returning to your cabin. What color is the bear? The bear has to be white. This riddle only makes sense if your cabin is at the North Pole. Going 100 miles south, then 100 miles east, which doesn't change your latitude much at the pole, and then 100 miles north brings you back to the original position. 3 friends are taking part in a high-fashion photo shoot, and each of them has carefully picked her outfit. But one of them is hiding a secret. She's pregnant. Can you figure out who's expecting just by spotting one little detail? Must be the girl in the middle, the one wearing the pink heels with rhinestones. If you look closely, her right shoe is buckled on the last hole as if her foot has slightly swollen. Also, platform shoes offer more stability than stilettos. She must be trying to stay stylish while concealing her pregnancy. John has a small shop that sells socks. One day, he decided to attract more people and launched an advertisement. Socks for free. Many people came there, but all the customers had to pay, even though the socks were free. Why? John would only give the left sock to his customers. The socks were good and people wanted to buy the second one. Who needs only one sock after all? Kelly works as a barista. This morning she dropped a cup full of coffee. Luckily, her white shirt wasn't stained, but it took a while to clean up the mess. How come? I never told you the coffee was liquid. There were coffee beans in the cup. They ended up right under the counter. Phil Adams, who didn't really like modern art, rushed into the city gallery and caused millions of dollars worth of damage to several paintings. Yet the manager of the gallery thanked Mr. Adams for what he did to them. How come? Phil was a firefighter. The water from his hose damaged several masterpieces, but he still managed to extinguish the fire and save many more exhibits. Angie put a coin into an empty bottle and plugged it tightly with a cork. Then she told her friend she'd take out the coin without breaking the bottle or taking out the cork. And she did it. Can you guess how? Angie just pushed the cork into the bottle and then shook it to make the coin fall out. Easy peasy. Mike was about to fail his exam, but the kind professor gave him one last chance. The guy had to arrange 4 9s to make them equal 100. He could use any math symbols. How can he do it? Mike activated all of his math skills and some common sense to figure out the answer. Lena and Tina are best friends, but recently they had a huge scandal. Lena is trying everything to make Tina forgive her. She sends her a strange coded message. What did Lena try to say? She wanted to say forgive in this unusual way. Doesn't look convincing enough to me. A dangerous criminal escaped and is headed to the airport to leave the country. The security knows he'll try to use a fake ID, so they check everyone thoroughly and find 3 main suspects. Can you guess which passport is fake out of these three? Different countries have different rules, but I'm sure no one would let their citizens use a selfie with someone else's hand on their shoulder as a passport photo. So Jin Beam must have just made this fake passport. Mr. Focus often offers other people adventurous bets. This time, he said he could throw a ball and it would come back to him every time. He also said there would be no obstacle or wall that the ball could ricochet from. Other people think it's impossible and lose the bet. So what's the deal here? Mr. Focus throws the ball straight up. It obviously comes back to him every time. Nancy is taking part in a TV quiz where she can win 1 pound of pure gold. At the end of the show, the host brings her 3 large jars. Each of them has 1 pound of pure gold inside, but also some unpleasant surprises. The first jar has venomous spiders inside, the second one is full of acid, and the third one is filled with boiling hot water. Nancy can only use her hands to get the gold out, and she has 30 minutes to finish. Can you help her? She should choose the jar with hot water. It's gonna get almost lukewarm in half an hour. Michael is trapped in a room. It's slowly filling with water that's coming from a tap in the wall. There are no windows in the room and the door is blocked. Michael has a mop and a big bucket. What can he do to survive? Well, the only thing the guy needs to do is to turn off the tap to keep the water from coming. Sally invited all her friends to her favorite restaurant to celebrate her birthday. She got her dream present, a ring with a huge diamond. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. After several minutes of total confusion, the lights came back on, but Megan's ring was gone. Look at the picture to try to figure out who stole it. It was the waiter. Look at the glass he's holding. He put the ring inside, and now there's much more water in it. A group of students went to visit an art gallery that has paintings from famous artists from different countries. Half an hour into the excursion, an alarm went on as one of the students was trying to damage one of the paintings. Since they all have uniforms, it's impossible to tell who exactly just from the CCTV footage. 3 possible suspects all have their excuses. Ashley said, "I love the painting so much I texted my mom about it. Why would I damage it?" Dawn said, "I didn't stay long in that room as I wanted to see the ancient mammal bones." Steve said, "Professor, I was just following you." One of these students is lying, but who? Dawn is lying, as there can be no mammal bones in an art gallery with paintings. How many of these mind-twisting riddles did you manage to solve? Feel free to share in the comments below.
For several days, a large werewolf has been scaring the residents here. You know that the werewolf has a wife, and she's the only person who can calm the monster down and help him return to his human form. You have found 3 girls. Each of them might be the werewolf's wife you're looking for. You ask his wife to approach him, but none of the girls admits she's the one you need, so you have to make your own choice. Do you see some wool on the girl's clothes? It's the wolf's fur, which means she's the wife. She walks up to the monster, hugs it, and the werewolf turns into a human. You're hungry. You drop by a pizzeria. The owner of the restaurant says that someone has taken all his weekly earnings from the safe. The thief wore gloves and left no fingerprints. The video cameras were turned off. You know this pizzeria has had several similar incidents over the past year. Every time, the insurance company paid the owner the entire amount that had been stolen. You're sure the owner took his own money to use the insurance again. Take a look at the office and prove that the owner is guilty. Look at the air vent. Behind the grated hatch, you can see the bundles of the stolen money you've been looking for. Suddenly, someone shoved Stacy into the water. Down in the Sea Kingdom, Stacy met Neptune. He was sitting on his throne, surrounded by 3 mermaids. Neptune asked Stacy to return the pearl necklace to his wife. She had recently lost it, and Luke found the necklace on the shore. Can you guess which mermaid is Neptune's wife? The third one. She's the only one who's wearing an engagement ring. When Stacy gave the necklace to its rightful owner, Neptune snapped his fingers. His guards brought Luke. Neptune said, "I'll let you go home safely, but you have to choose the right door." There were demons behind the first door. They were ready to eat anyone who dared to come in. There was lava all over the floor of the room behind the second door. And finally, there was a laser beam that could cut through anything it touched behind the third door. Which door should Stacy and Luke choose? The third one. They can crawl under the beam without touching it. You were in a hurry and forgot to lock the apartment door while leaving. Someone got in and locked the door from the inside, and you had to use the key to open it. You see a human silhouette standing in the shadows and realize that you know this person. Who is it? It's the woman who asked you to help her brother. She was wearing a red bracelet. The silhouette has the same accessory. "I came here to thank you in person. The door was open, but you weren't at home," the woman says. A mysterious biologist invites you to his home for dinner. He takes you down to the basement and puts 3 plates of weird items on the table. One has wild mushrooms with white gills. The second is filled with castor beans. The third has some fish brains. Which one is safe to eat? The plate of fish brains is the only dish that isn't poisonous. Someone got into Matthew's house during a severe rainstorm and took a lot of expensive stuff. The man called the police. They came over and started to interview the neighbors. Nicole said she lived alone and worked from home. She was inside the whole day. Jerry explained he was a chef in an Italian restaurant. He came back from work only half an hour ago. Sophia told the police she hadn't left home because she was ill. Who was the intruder? It was Nicole. She claimed that she'd been inside the entire day, but there was a wet umbrella in the corner. Kim and Ashley are best friends. They decided to spend summer vacation in Italy together. They were very lucky to buy cheap plane tickets. Their flight was at 10 a.m. Unfortunately, when the girls arrived at the airport, they realized it was the wrong one. Now, they have 2 options. To take a high-speed train for $100 to go to the right airport, or stay here and buy tickets for a later flight for $400. What should they choose? The second option. Look at the clock on the wall. It's 9:55 a.m. The boarding for their flight is already over. They won't make it even if they take a high-speed train. Kim and Ashley bought new tickets. They went to the airport restaurant to drink coffee. But one weird detail scared Kim away. She suggested they should leave that place as soon as possible. What did Kim see? This woman over there is a zombie. Wow! How did she get through security? When it was time to finally board the plane, it turned out there were no more economy class seats left. Kim and Ashley were offered to fly in business class. There, the girls saw 3 people. When the flight attendant served them fresh juice, she whispered that Kim and Ashley were extremely lucky. They were about to travel next to a famous Italian billionaire. Can you guess which of these passengers is the billionaire? This glamorous lady is a good candidate, but it's very unlikely a billionaire will wear a 100% polyester coat. This guy's business suit is very elegant, but look at his shoes. They seem quite cheap and worn out. This funny gentleman must be the real billionaire, although his outfit is rather casual. His gold watch looks very expensive. Once, a bank was robbed. The police suspected that one of the bank security guards had helped the criminals. Detective Justin had to question 3 of them. The first security guard told him he had heard some shouting and rushed there, but by the time he arrived, the criminals had already been gone. The second security guard explained he had been drinking a cup of coffee at that moment and hadn't even heard anything. And the third guard said he had run after the thieves, but he had to lace his boots. Without a second thought, he crouched near an emergency exit. At that very moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he came back, the criminals had been gone. Justin immediately understood which guard was guilty. Who was it? It was the third guard. All emergency doors open outwards for safety reasons. The police have been looking for Kyle for 2 days. The guy went hiking and never came back. Finally, he was found. Someone had hit him on the head and left him lying in the bushes. Kyle only managed to say, "Friend," in a weak voice, and lost consciousness. The police officers had 3 suspects, all of them Kyle's friends. Zachary said he spent the last days at work getting ready for a conference. Jesse told the detective he'd sprained his ankle and had been in bed for 4 days. And Billy explained he'd been to New York for business. The man even showed the police officers his boarding pass. Who's behind the accident with Kyle? Police immediately noticed that Billy had showed just 1 boarding pass. Then how did he get back from New York? His story sounds fishy. Uh-oh. Tommy was exploring old caves outside the city when he got trapped in a mysterious dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but only one of them was safe. Behind the first door, a fire was raging. Behind the second door, there was acid rain which could melt any substance within seconds. Behind the third door, there was a huge brown bear that hadn't eaten for 2 years. Which way should Tommy choose? Tommy should choose the third way. No animal can go for 2 years without food and survive. Barely, haha. It was a stormy day and it had been raining for several hours straight. A car accident happened in a tunnel. The yellow car crashed into the red one. The driver of the yellow car said it had been raining so heavily he hadn't seen anything. So the accident wasn't totally his fault, but the police asked the man to stop lying and claimed it was all his fault. Why? The accident happened in the tunnel. It couldn't be raining there. Mrs. Cabell is the owner of a small company producing expensive designer cups. On Friday, when the working week was finally over, she got a call from her bank. The woman found out that someone had stolen all the money she had saved. Mrs. Cabell realized it must have been one of her workers. So she asked each of them what they had been doing that day. Sloan, a sales manager, said she'd been talking to their clients and looking for new ones. Atticus, a potter, said that he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had done that week. Sierra, a designer, said that she'd been working, but also admitted she hadn't really been productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Atticus. There are 5 working days in the regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work.
One particular day, I think it was a Monday, turned out to be the most bizarre and hectic for Dr. Victor Hayes, an experienced physician working in a private hospital. One of his patients tried to sneak out of the hospital. Victor found only 3 pairs of abandoned slippers. To find the patient, he needed to figure out which pair belonged to them. Can you help him? It seems that no one has worn the white pair. The mud marks on the blue slippers mean that the person left but may have returned. The gray slippers appear to have a small white stain, which is actually a piece of cotton that came loose while the person was running. This is the pair of the escaped patient. At one point during the day, Victor noticed something seriously wrong. A patient had been transferred in an emergency, but the original medical record had disappeared. There are 3 folders on the ward counter, all without a name. Take a look at them. Which one is the missing file? The red folder seems to have been used by someone absent-mindedly in the kitchen. The blue one shows definite signs of neglect. It means the green folder is the one the doctor needs. During his lunch break, Victor dropped by a 24-hour pharmacy. 3 people were waiting in line at the counter. He noticed that one of them was pretending to be a patient in order to buy a restricted medication. Can you figure out who was faking it? The woman seems to be disguising her identity, but she may just be sensitive to light. The man in flip-flops may have had an accident at home. The young man coughs, but he is interested in eye drops. This medicine doesn't correspond to his symptoms, so he is the one faking it. After lunch, our doctor realized that he had left his notes in the car, so he went to the parking lot. There, he saw 3 cars parked side by side, but one of them had its silent alarm activated, signaling an attempted break-in. Look at them attentively and say which car has been tampered with. The SUV may be flashing because it's just been locked. The sedan has its mirror out of place. It might be a sign of an attempted break-in. But the blue car has a clearer sign. One of the wipers is raised and is missing a wiper blade, which must have been stolen. Victor entered the hospital elevator but noticed a strong odor of medicine. He suspected that someone was stealing expired medicines from the lab. There were 3 people in the elevator. Can you figure out who's carrying the medicines? The nurse might be carrying personal items. The delivery man is carrying something sealed. It could be a regular delivery. But the lady with the bag looks out of place, and the heat inside the elevator makes the smell spread. It's a thermal bag. See that gray aluminum lining? She is carrying the expired medicines. Victor's friend Lucas hurt his knee, and our doctor told him to stay home, and he prohibited him from getting up from his bed. Then Victor had to go back to the hospital. He promised to visit Lucas in the evening. When he arrived, he immediately realized that Lucas had actually gotten up. How did he understand this? Lucas has moved his bedside lamp from the desk to his nightstand and plugged it in. A patient was rushed to the ER with poisoning. Victor suspected that the poison could have been in the medicine the patient had taken. But the only people who had access to the patient's room were the nurse, the chef, and the janitor. The nurse said she had taken care of other patients at that time. The chef said he had been busy with dinner. And the janitor said he had only cleaned the hallway. Who is the culprit? It must be the nurse. The poison was in the medicine, and only the nurse handled it. Dr. Victor was asked to visit another patient. She claimed that she experienced severe headaches every night from 9 p.m. sharp. The hospital staff was baffled because nothing unusual happened at that time. Can you help Victor understand what causes the headaches? The reason is the noise and vibration from the maintenance machine. David woke up in a hospital with no memories whatsoever. Soon, 3 girls rushed into his room. Each of them claimed to be his only sister. David couldn't figure out which of the ladies was telling the truth and asked Dr. Victor for help. Which girl is the guy's real relative? David's real sister is the girl in the middle. Look, they both have identical birthmarks on their hands. A hospital's emergency alarm went off in the middle of the night, but there was no emergency. That's why Victor suspected sabotage. Only 3 staff members were on duty at that time: a night nurse, an intern, and a security guard. Now, the security guard said he had been patrolling the parking lot. The intern said he had been in the break room. And the night nurse said she had been checking on patients. Victor understood who was lying right away. Can you do the same? It was the intern. The alarm control panel is near the break room, and only someone close by could trigger it. Dr. Victor's patient complained that a creepy nurse had visited him at night. The figure didn't do anything, just stood in the corner watching him. But the hospital only had 2 night nurses, and both had alibis. Victor checked the CCTV footage and indeed saw a shadowy figure wearing a nurse uniform. Who was this culprit? It wasn't any of the hospital nurses. The intruder wasn't wearing a badge, so it was just someone disguised as a nurse. Victor's boss asked him to help with a complicated case. Apparently, a patient got an extra dose of medication and showed side effects. Only a nurse, the patient's doctor, and the pharmacist handled the medication that day. The nurse insisted she had given the right dose. The pharmacist said the labels were correct, and the doctor said he hadn't changed the prescription. Who most likely made the error? It was most likely the nurse, because she was the one administering the meds. Finally, Victor left the hospital after his 14-hour shift. Exhausted, he took the same road he always did to get home. But this time, he arrived at a gas station 10 miles in the wrong direction, without ever making a turn. He swore he followed his usual route. No GPS error, no detours, no road closures. And the car had no signs of tampering. How is it possible? Victor was so exhausted that he accidentally got into an identical car parked nearby, which belonged to someone else who lived in the opposite direction. Both cars used the same key fob model. The next day, Victor had several patients waiting for him, but he understood at once that one of them was just pretending to be sick. Which one was it? It's the guy with a cast on his right arm. His phone is in his right pocket. It'd be extremely uncomfortable to put it there with the left hand. It means his cast is fake. 3 pregnant ladies were waiting for the doctor, but one of them wasn't really expecting. Which one? It's the woman on the left. If we look closer, we'll notice a piece of a pillow sticking out from under her sweater. Now, look at this patient. He's come to Victor with a bad headache, but it seems something else is wrong with him. What is it? His left leg is green. You can see it between the edge of his pant leg and his sock. The day was getting more and more bizarre. This patient doesn't seem to be a regular one either. Why? She's got 6 fingers on her left hand and only 4 on the right one. But she can still count to 10.
3 tourists entered an ancient pyramid and found a chamber with an inscription. What does not honor the pharaoh shall remain here forever. They saw 3 buttons with the following symbols: the sun, a scarab, and an ankh. There was also a warning that only one button opens the passage, and the others trigger dangerous traps. One of the tourists immediately pressed the correct button. Which button was it, and why did they choose it? It was the ankh. In ancient Egypt, it symbolized life, so it's the most logical choice. A golden amulet went missing during an excavation. Anna claimed she spent the day photographing wall paintings. Jack said he'd been studying the treasure map inside the tent. And Lena said she had been sketching outdoors. But the tracks in the sand led from the tent to the pyramid and back, and those were deep, narrow footprints with small heels. Do you know who took the amulet? It was Lena. She was the only one outside, and the small-heeled footprints point to her. An archaeologist descended into a lost Mayan pyramid and discovered 3 ancient masks. Which mask should he choose to find the treasure and stay alive? He should pick the jade mask with the symbols of the storm god. The Mayans trusted him with their gold and secrets. As for the rest of the masks, the golden snake is a symbol of the underworld, and it can lure one to their demise. And the jaguar is associated with aggression and night hunting, so it can lead Nathan to danger. 3 archaeologists, Dr. Laura, Mr. Thomas, and Professor Blake, are exploring a lost Mayan temple. They discover 3 stone tablets with mysterious symbols and inscriptions. Dr. Laura chooses the mirror-shaped symbol. Mr. Thomas touches the carved serpent's eye. Professor Blake steps onto the stone with a crescent moon. Who is in danger? Professor Blake. He stepped on the moon symbol, which warns he won't return. Mr. Thomas awakens the curse, and only Dr. Laura chooses wisely. She unlocks the path to the treasure. Jack finds an ancient Mayan scroll with an engraved message. Where the sun bids farewell to the day, where the river coils like a snake, where moss always hides in the shade, there the pyramid's peak is hidden from view. Jack stands by the river with a dense forest in the north, rocky cliffs and the blazing sun in the south, a clear path in the east, and a river surrounded by trees in the west. Where should Jack go? West. That's where the sun bids farewell, or sets. The river curves like a snake, and the trees provide shade. Alex arrives at a remote jungle village, hoping to find the lost ruins of an ancient Mayan city. 3 people offer to guide him. A pretty woman wants $500. An old man with a donkey wants $50. A cheerful guy in a Hawaiian shirt promises to guide Alex for $300. Only one of these people is a true guide. Can you tell who? The real guide is the old man with the donkey. He asks for a reasonable price. He's not flashy or pushy, and he has a map and a means of transportation. Justin was an archaeologist who explored ancient pyramids. One day, something went wrong, and he ended up locked in a tiny room deep underground. There was only one other door in the room, but it was locked. To open it, the guy had to solve a riddle. After mulling it over for some time, Justin guessed what it meant. Can you? The answer is try to understand. Once, something went wrong. Yep, again. And he got locked in a tiny room. To open the door, the guy had to solve a riddle and enter the correct 4-digit code. What code should Justin enter? Each digit of the code is the number of letters in the alphabet that stand between the letters in the riddle. So, the code is 5139. There are 3 doors in front of you, with snakes, scorpions, and scarabs behind each of them respectively. You need to choose the safest one. Hopefully you know that scarabs are harmless, so you should pick the 3rd door. One day, Julia fell asleep in the park. She woke up in a strange room with 3 doors. There were random objects lying around: bricks, empty bottles, ropes, and even a barrel. There was also a note on the wall. Behind one of these doors, there's a staircase that leads to freedom. You don't want to know what's lurking behind the other 2 doors. Julia got really frightened, but she managed to get out soon. What did she do? She dragged the barrel toward each of the doors, climbed on it, and checked whether the staircase was there. Once she spotted it, she was free. Look at these people attentively. Who do you think is in greater danger? The lion won't necessarily attack the man, of course, if he doesn't provoke the animal. If the guy tries his best to look unthreatening, the lion might simply ignore him. But the snake can easily tighten its grip, which can end very badly for this girl. Mr. Smart's wife went missing. A detective came to investigate this case. Mr. Smart told her that the last time he'd seen his wife had been in the morning. She was having breakfast. When he returned home at 6 p.m., her breakfast was still on the table, but she had disappeared. After hearing the man's story, the detective immediately arrested Mr. Smart. Why did he do so? When the detective arrived at the Smart's house, the breakfast on the table was still steaming. This means Mr. Smart had set up the scene right before he called the police. Do you see anything suspicious in this room? I'll help you. One object is haunted. A small hint: pay attention to those balloons left after a small party. Have you noticed that the red balloon has a pin in it? But strangely, even pierced, the balloon remains intact, and the air is still inside. It must be the haunted object. Look at these elderly ladies. Both of them have gone out for a walk. At first glance, they seem totally normal, but one of them is actually planning something bad. Can you figure out which granny it is? It's the granny on the right. She's got a file hidden in her knitting basket. A renowned chemist disappeared right from his lab. There was no evidence except a piece of paper lying on his desk. It had the names of 5 elements: nickel, carbon, oxygen, lanthanum, and sulfur. The guard reported that 3 people had visited the chemist that day: his sister Laura, his colleague Nicholas, and his wife Tessa. The criminal was arrested immediately. Who was it? The list of chemicals is a clue. Their abbreviations spell out the name Nicholas.
At Emma and Jake's wedding, everything was perfect until the wedding ring vanished moments before the ceremony. Only a few people had been in the room: bridesmaid Sarah, Emma's best friend, videographer Jason, who had been hired just a day before the wedding, and florist Olivia, who had decorated the venue and stayed for the ceremony as a guest. Look at this photo and try to figure out who took the ring. Olivia stole the ring. In the photo, she's holding the bouquet in one hand and suspiciously hiding the other behind her back. Newlyweds Sophie and Alex traveled to Mexico to take photos in front of the ancient Mayan pyramids. During the photo shoot, Sophie suddenly vanished into the ground. Alex rushed there and found 3 round holes in the ground, each sealed with a stone. Which hole should Alex explore? Alex chose the tunnel with the salt scattered around it. In Mayan mythology, the owl marked danger and possible demise, so that hole's likely a trap. But the salt, sacred and valuable to the Mayans, was a sign of safety and prosperity, and that's where Sophie had fallen. Everything is ready for the wedding to begin, but weirdly, there's not one, but 3 brides. One of them is a fugitive who escaped prison 2 days ago. All 3 women look calm, but there's one small detail. Have you noticed it? The criminal is the girl on the left. Her left ring finger, the one where the wedding ring goes, has a broken nail and no manicure. A real bride would never show up to her own wedding without doing her nails, so they tell me. An invisible thief steals 1 item per day from different people in New York City. They stole a red refrigerator from Ronnie, a brown table from Brandon, a black chair from Bruce, and a gray microwave from Gunther. Look at Phoebe's house. What will the thief steal there? The thief will take a pink mixer grinder, since the girl's name starts with a P and the item matches the color pattern. Scientist Lucas was found unconscious in his lab by his 3 assistants, Agatha, Amanda, and Anna. He was holding a silver spoon. It turned out the scientist had been poisoned. Detective Davis figured out who was guilty pretty fast. Can you do the same? The clue is the spoon the man is holding. The chemical symbol for silver is Ag, which pointed to Agatha as the criminal. Detective Davis was following a robber whose face he hadn't managed to see. At one point, he lost sight of him, but soon he spotted a man who seemed to be repairing his car. The man claimed that his car battery had quit on him. He got out to open the hood and saw a man rushing by. He turned on his headlights to see him better, but the man had already fled. Detective Davis arrested the man. Why? If his car was out of power, he could not have turned on the headlights. Bella's car was hit by a speeding red car. After driving around for a while, the girl spotted 3 people in a nearby restaurant with red cars parked outside. Look at them attentively and try to find the culprit. The lady at the second table has just arrived and is ordering food. She can't be the driver. The third lady has already finished her meal. She must have come long before. But the man is still eating. The timing is just right for him to be the culprit. To pass an exam, James has to work out 66 multiplied by 1.5 without writing numbers or math signs. Can you help the guy figure out how to do it? He should just turn 66 upside down. It gives us 99, which is the answer. A man had a book that was worth $50,000. There were only 2 such books in existence. He threw the book into the furnace, reducing it to a pile of soot. Why did he do this? He destroyed the book because he had both copies. After destroying one of them, there was only one left, so its value immediately went up. Detective Adams arrived at the Museum of Modern Music because someone had stolen legendary shoes that belonged to Elvis Presley. A museum guard told the detective that they had reviewed the footage from security cameras and found out that all visitors had come in and left empty-handed. Detective Adams examined the footage and said he knew who had stolen the shoes. Have you figured it out? It's the red-headed guy. When he entered the exhibition, he was shorter than the other visitors. But when he was leaving, he was as tall as the others. He must be wearing Elvis's high-heeled shoes. Were they also blue suede? John's sister got angry with the guy and locked him in his room. But she wasn't cruel. She left her brother a chance to get out of there. To do it, he needed to find the answer to this riddle. Turn me on my side, and I am everything. Cut me in half, and I am nothing. What am I? Well, can you help the guy escape? The answer is the number 8. On its side, it's infinity. But cut it in half and you'll get 2 zeros. Now look carefully at these 3 men carrying a log. One of them is cheating. Can you figure out who it is? It's the man in the middle. For one thing, he's wearing a suit, which is a strange choice of clothing for such a task. Plus, his face is quite relaxed and his eyes are open. It doesn't look as if carrying the log feels like hard work for him. To get out of a locked room, Martin has to crack a riddle. During which month do people sleep the least? Can you help Martin figure it out? People sleep the least during February. It only has 28 or a maximum of 29 days. Eric got lost in a museum. While he was trying to find a way out, it got really late. All the doors were already closed. Finally, the guy saw 3 staircases. The first one was all covered in bizarre nettles with razor-sharp leaves and long spikes. The second had giant stinking flowers with a stench almost impossible to bear. And the third staircase was an impassable jungle of cacti. Which staircase should Eric choose? He should run down the second staircase. Even though the flowers are gross, they're relatively harmless. The police found out there was a new smuggler in the town. 3 people were under suspicion: Luna, a school bus driver; Jackson, a fire truck driver; and Daniel, an ambulance driver. All of them claim to have been busy with their work since that very morning. Can you figure out who the smuggler is? Look at the car Daniel drives. On such vehicles, the word ambulance is written backwards. It's done so that other drivers can instantly read the inverted word in their rear-view mirrors. Well, it seems Daniel has given himself away.